Christmas is just around the corner, and with lockdown still in place and retailers remaining closed here in Toronto, this year I'm going to make gift bags out of scrap fabric. I start by cutting out 2 pieces of fabric for the inner lining. In this example, I'm gifting wine, so I've measured 15 inches by 6.5 inches. Make sure that your fabric is slightly larger than the item you intend to gift. Then, I trace this panel onto my outer fabric, cutting out 2 pieces as well. For the outer lining, I sew in the 3 sides together, with the right sides facing each other. For the inner lining, I do the same as well, but I keep 4-inch opening on the bottom as this is where the fabric will be pulled through later. I then take my outer lining, open it, and fold it in half with the seams in the middle. From the bottom tips of the folded panel, I then measure out 1.5 inches from the tip and mark that with a pin. Now in this example, I folded the tip down, which you don't have to do. You can simply mark it with the pin and sew across. When sewing in place, I sew across a straight line and then go over it again in the opposite direction to reinforce the stitch. I then cut off the tips. This will form a square base for the bag. Repeat these steps on the inner lining as well. Next, I turn my outer lining inside out with the right sides facing outwards. Then, I stuff this into the inner lining with the right sides facing each other. Line up the top edges and sew those together, going all the way around. From the 4-inch hole that we left earlier at the bottom of the inner lining, pull the outer lining through until the inner lining is fully turned inside out. Then, sew that hole closed. Once the hole is closed, stuff the inner lining into the outer lining, and then sew a top stitch around the upper edge. To create the drawstrings, measure about 1.5 inches down from the top and sew a straight line around the bag. Then, measure 1 inches down from that line and sew another straight line parallel to the first line. Once those lines are sewn in place, open up the seams in between the lines on both sides of the bag. Make sure to stay within the lines and only open the seam for the outer lining. Now, trying to keep this project as sustainable as possible, I cut out a long piece of fabric to create a ribbon for the drawstring. Using a safety pin, I then thread this through in one of the openings and feed it through, coming out of the same opening and tying a knot to secure it together. I then repeat this on the opening on the other side as well.